Good afternoon. Welcome to today's Take Control of Your Financial Success Charla. We are thrilled to be hosting today's Charla with Mastercard to give you important financial information and tips to help you make better decisions that work for you. Mastercard's mission is to promote financial empowerment and equity for all through access to education, resources, and technology. Achieving that goal starts with empowering you to take charge of your finances. Before we get started, I would like to share that we have the chat and Q&A window enabled. Please make sure to send your comments in the chat to all audience and not to the default of panelists because we want everyone to hear from you. We will have a live Q&A session at the end, so please make sure to submit your questions in the Q&A window found in the bottom of the Zoom bar for the opportunity to have your questions answered. We have a translator on the line who will be sharing today's content in Spanish. To listen the charla in Spanish, please head on over to the Zoom bar and click on the interpretation button. Now, it is my pleasure to introduce Mercedes Garcia, Vice President, Community Relations at Mastercard. In this role, she is responsible for the Master Your Card financial education. This program provides information about how consumers and business owners can get the most from their money by educating themselves in key financial education topics and through the smart use of electronic payments technology. Thank you for joining us, Mercedes.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. So I hope that everybody's doing well. Very, very excited to be here. And happy Friday. You know, I hope everybody's so happy as I am about it being a Friday. So I really, really want to thank the Hispanic Heritage Foundation, a dear partner of Mastercard and Master Your Card, for this opportunity. And as Jessica said, you know, today, opportunities to talk about the importance of financial education and the importance about all of those good things that we need to understand and to make sure that we know for sure. And so congratulations to all of you for taking the time today, because any little step that we take towards learning more, especially about financial education, it's going to represent something good and success and achievements for us in the future. So thank you for doing that and congratulations. So you heard that I work for Mastercard. Actually, I have been with Mastercard for 27 years. So Mastercard, what comes to your mind when you hear Mastercard, right? So let me tell you, Mastercard is not what you're thinking. Mastercard is not a credit card company, as many of you probably think. Mastercard does not give cards to people, and Mastercard does not sign up any merchants to start accepting payment cards. We are a technology company, so Mastercard is the technology behind the transactions. And every time you go somewhere with your card and pay for something that you're buying, or if you pay for a service, etc., your bills, everything happens through the Mastercard network, the Mastercard rails. So this is something that I always like to do at the beginning of our workshops, because I don't want anybody thinking, oh my God, there's this woman from Mastercard. She's going to tell me to get a card. I already have one, and all the things that come with that. So I'm not here to give you any cards or to push any cards. We don't do that. We are the technology behind it. And as a company, I just wanted to say that Mastercard mission, and you can see it in the slide, every day, everywhere, we like to use our technology and our expertise to make sure that all payments are safe, simple, smart, fast, and above everything, that are really, really safe for everybody. Okay? But you might be thinking, why is payments technology important? Why do I need to learn about this? Well, let me tell you that in addition to all the other financial education topics that I will be sharing with you, learning about payments technology is really, really important. Why? Because eventually cash and checks will be a thing of the past, right? I'm sure you have seen that people carry less and less cash in their pockets or in their purses, because electronically, doing things electronically continues to be the preferred way for people around the world, and continue expanding, to pay for things, to receive money, to send money, to pay their bills, etc. And it's it's a way to do things that is more convenient, is safer, is simpler for consumers, for people, and for businesses as well. So it's really, really important that we think about the importance of learning about electronic payments technology, which can be banks, can be payment cards, can be using, your Apple Watch, for example, to pay for something, or to pay with your phone, as we have seen recently. So it's really, really important to remember how to do that and why we need to do that, right? Especially in today's world, things have changed a lot, right? So social distancing and having to stay home, other preventive measures that were implemented to protect all of us, um, changed the way around the world how we did things, right? How we receive money, send money, and pay for things. So as we adjust to all these new things, new reality, we need to understand how to manage our money in accordance with all of these new ways of doing things. So just think, I don't know if it happened to some of you during the pandemic, but some people were sitting at home, couldn't go out, banks were closed, check cashing centers were closed, and people that do not have a bank account or do not have a payment card. And when I say payment cards, keep in mind, can be credit or debit or prepaid cards, because not all cards are credit cards. So if you didn't have one or didn't have a bank account, you were there sitting down, like if you even have a couple of, dollar bills or cash with you were not able to do anything with it, right? You were not able to pay your bills online or order food through your phone or buy groceries or anything. So I think during the pandemic, we had to learn that the importance of the electronic and the technology in this world these days, because that was the only way that we were able to do transactions at that point. And for merchants, it was the same thing. I remember so many merchants that I have met through the work that I do that say, "Oh, no, no, cash is the best way to stay. I in my business only accept cash. I don't accept cards." Well, I have talked to them and they are really having a hard time now because during the pandemic, they were not able to sell anything. They were not able to get a call from people on the phone and say, "Hey, can you please charge it to my card and send me this and that?" Or for people to buy online the things that they sell. So it was like a rude awakening for them as well, because they realized that at that time, nobody was going to come straight to them in person with enough money in their pocket to buy the things that they were selling. So, really, really important. So, master your card. You are here in Mastercard and you're here in Master Your Card. So, let me tell you quickly what Mastercard is. Mastercard is Mastercard Community Empowerment Education Program. So Mastercard sponsors this financial education program that we take to different communities, especially Latino communities, and to help people understand how to make the best of their money, how to manage their money better, and ensure that everybody has the same information, everybody has the same tools, the same alternatives, that through the workshops that we do in partnership with amazing organizations like with the Hispanic Heritage Foundation, like and many others, through the work that we do, and you can see a couple of pictures in that slide, we bring that free education to them, and people can clarify many misconceptions that sometimes they have. As I said, cash. Sometimes people don't think the importance of technology and how they are limited with cash and how costly cash is. And if you do the math, for example, let's say I don't have a bank account, I don't have a payment card, I get paid every Friday with a check. Just the fact that I need to pay transportation, go to a check cashing center and pay a fee they're going to charge me for cashing my check, that's money that I can use for something else, right? But some people don't really think about that. And then let's say if once a month I need to pay for my utility bills, I cannot just put some cash in an envelope and send it. Or just imagine the time and inconvenience it takes if you're going to go in person to the different places like Verizon and to the, let's say, Connect or AT&T, et cetera, et cetera. So it's really inconvenient. So just think, if at the end of the month, to pay my bills, I need to use my cash to buy money orders. And then those money orders, I need to put them in an envelope, and then I need to put a stamp, right? So just do the math. The check cashing center fee, buying the money orders that I don't know these days if they are around $3, $5. Then I need to buy the envelopes, I need to buy the stamps, and then I need to put that in the mail. And then if I want to send money, for example, to my family, I have to pay also money to send it, right? Like if it's a Western Union or MoneyGram or those services. And all of that is because I have thought that there's no other way for me to do things through technology, and the only alternative that I have is cash, and that is totally wrong. So that's what we do through Master Your Card. That's what we do, bringing this information, clarifying things, and making sure that people understand all of these things to manage their money better. So talking about partners, right? Partnering for our community. I just wanted to tell you, for example, what we do with the Hispanic Heritage Foundation. We value so much what they do. We are always, the president of the fan club of them. Therefore, we do things together, like, for example, financial empowerment. They have great resources and a great financial education page where they have been kind enough to include some of our materials as well as some of the resources. So a charla like today or other workshops that we have done with them. And also we help sponsor the great events that they have. Like, I mean, who doesn't love the Hispanic Heritage Awards, right? I love it. And I used to go in person, and now I enjoy it virtually, but it's such an amazing, I feel so proud of being a Latina when I attend these events and see, how they highlight all the wonderful things being done from the people in agriculture and in arts and in so many different areas where Latinos are really making a big difference. So also the Hispanic Youth Awards, we are also proud sponsors of the educational workshops and of the events that they do, because helping educate and uplift and really engage our youth in all of these great things and information that they need to know, it's really really important. So Mastercard were super excited and proud that for several years now we have been working so closely with the Hispanic Heritage Foundation. So let me tell you a little bit more about the key financial education topics that I mentioned before. It's not only about electronic payments, as I mentioned, or technology. There's so many other things that are important that I want you to think about. And these are, for example, creating a budget and subsequently a savings plan, right? Also, banking. I understand that sometimes people don't want to have a bank account because in some cases some banks have fees, or sometimes they think they tell people that they need to have a minimum balance in their account, otherwise they will charge fees for that. Or sometimes it's just complicated. Sometimes some banks have not taken the time to translate things and make things in our languages clearer, or really put themselves in our shoes, and what are the important things for us as Latinos, or any other immigrants, right? So I understand that sometimes we have some reluctancy to do that. But let me tell you, there's so many alternatives now that I would recommend for you to think about it and to take a quick look at it, because there's, for example, credit unions or some banks that focus on Latinos and have all the information clear, and you can go sometimes in person or talk to somebody in our own language and ask questions. So it's really important to consider banking. So just a recommendation. Also, the cost of cash is an important topic because you can be doing all the great things about having a budget and savings plans and all of that. But if your money is going down the drain because you're spending money in things like check cashing centers or payday loans or pawn shops, those kind of things, that is not really very smart to be doing, right? So I think it's very important to think about that. So in this new slide, you can see a couple of recommendations that go a little beyond just the list of topics that I recommend. I have some recommendations here as well. For example, why you should develop a budget. Some people say, why do I need that? Well, I think that without a budget, it's very difficult to know how much comes in and how much goes out, therefore to know at the end of the day how much money you end up with, right? What if the money that is coming in is less than what you're paying in bills, in services, spending in cool things, in instead of the needs, you're spending more in the wants, which is just the things that you really don't need but you would like to have. So it's really, really important to stop, take a breath, and even in a simple paper, and we have some resources to help you with that in the masteryourcard.org website. Uh, Write down, if I have a job or two, okay, how much money am I receiving? If I have some subsidy from somewhere, or if I have, gifts sometimes that I get, or contributions, or something like that, I need to think about how much money I'm getting, how much money it's coming in, and then I need to do a list of everything that I'm spending. Not only like the rent and the phone and those kind of things. I need to think about as well how much I'm spending every day, like in transportation, having that fancy coffee, or giving money to my mom or to the kids, or so there's so many other things that sometimes we don't account for that end up draining our money because we then say, oh, what happened here? Why I don't have any more money? Because we didn't account for those. Also, having a budget will help you determine how much you can save, especially for emergencies, because these days you never know. So if you don't have like a little reserve, a little cushion, as we always call it, what happens if something breaks your car, the refrigerator, or an emergency, medical, etc.? Everything goes down the drain because you're going to be unbalanced. So it's always good to think about how much you can start saving every month for those emergencies so you don't get out of balance, right? And also, very, very importantly, to plan for your financial goals in the future. If you want to go to college, or your kids want to go to college, or there's a special family vacation that you want to take to see relatives, etc. So we need to definitely think about that. Okay. Leveraging technology, I think I already mentioned some about that, like how it saves you time, not having to do everything in person and going to get cash and paying an ATM fee or paying check cashing centers, etc. Also, technology helps you stay organized, right? And be aware of how you can save money, because hasn't it happened to you sometimes that you get, like, I don't know, you have $100 and you go out and pay for things, and then you come back home and you say, oh my God, I have only 20 or 10. What happened? Where did it go? Where exactly happened? If you're using only cash, that usually happens. But if you do things electronically, you will know exactly how much you spend where, and you can have a control. And these days, the technology gives you the opportunity to get like either alerts on your phone or emails, etc., that help you be a little bit more cautious in terms of what's your budget and how much you are spending. Okay, very important. Another really, really important thing is establishing and maintaining a good credit. Some of us sometimes have learned the hard way. In this country, especially, having a good credit history and a good credit scoring is the most important thing, because these days people check your credit scoring for so many things, either to find a job. Employers these days are checking how good your credit scoring is to see how responsible you are with your finances and with your payments. Also, if you're going to rent an apartment or if you're going to ask for a credit line to buy a car, things like those sometimes happen that they check your credit scoring. And if you haven't been cautious and really careful about it, you're going to end up paying a lot more money than anybody else, because your credit scoring will determine when you're borrowing money, either if it's buying a house, a mortgage, or a car, or anything that you want to do. When they look at your credit scoring, if it's very low, that means that they need to protect themselves, right? The institution that is going to give you, lending you the money, and say, I think I need to put a higher interest rate for this loan because this person doesn't have a very good trajectory with their money. And contrarily, if you have a higher credit scoring, that means that they can give you a lower interest rate, so you will end up paying less money than others that are considered a more risk for institutions that lend money. So really, really important. I always, recommend to people that there's a way to check your credit scoring for free annually, or there's some banks that give that alternative for free as one of the benefits that they provide. So always be on top of it. Okay, make sure that you are not spending more than what you can pay at the end of the month, and not thinking that because credit cards give you, which is one of the things that people, the mistake that it's done most of the time, is not because you're thinking, oh, with a credit card, I can pay little by little. Yeah, that's an alternative, but that also means that you're going to end up paying a lot more, sometimes more than double than what you spent with the card. So I would just, recommend that you spend with your credit card only the amount that you know that you can pay at the end of the month, and to make sure that you do not end up paying interest rates and you don't end up damaging your credit score and your credit history. Okay, so good things to pay attention to. And lastly, but very important these days, we have to be safe and protect our money, protect our identity. So there's so much that we can do in addition to what companies like Mastercard and like banks and like many financial institutions out there are doing to make sure that our information is protected, that our information is always, being viewed, even when we don't even notice behind the scenes. There's so much happening in terms of protecting us from fraudulent transactions and for identity thefts and those kind of things. We don't even know how that is happening, but there's a lot, believe me, happening to ensure that we are not, our information is safe and secure. But as I said, it's important that we do our part as well. And just be smart, be aware of scams or crazy emails that you don't know where they came from, or some calls asking you for personal information or confidential information, saying that it's your bank or a store where you buy something like that. Always hang up the phone, and if you have any doubts, call back to a number that you have, or it's in the back of your card, or if it's in your bank statement. Don't answer any questions. Also, monitor your balance of your bank or your credit card or any loan that you got, and make sure that if you see anything that looks funny, that it's not right, that it's not something that you did, immediately call and report it to your bank or to the bank that gave you your payment card. Is it's a prepaid card or a debit card or a credit card? Make sure you do that. Try to use the latest technology. Take advantage of everything that you have available these days. I'm sure you saw during the pandemic how more people using cards were able just to to tap the card in the terminals, in the places where the stores used to for you to pay for things. And that was another way, because the chip, that probably something that you notice in your card in the last 2 3 years, it's another measure to help with security and safety of your information and of your money. So make sure you take advantage of those things. And be careful also when you go to any websites. Here's a couple of recommendations as well of what to look for when you go to a website. So just I would recommend take a look at masteryourcarusa.com, excuse me, .org. And we have videos, we have more materials, we have handouts, we have interactive platforms where you can, at your own time, go through different courses that are 5-7 minutes each and learn all of these things and get more resources. For example, if you want to do your budget or learn more about the differences between a credit card, a debit card, or a prepaid card. So there's a lot of good things there. Okay. So now I have a surprise. I have had the pleasure to work with another amazing organization that is going to join us now. It's called Qualitas of Life Foundation. They are an amazing organization that we have partnered with for the last 3-4 years. And we have today Miriam Revlin and Sandra Velez that are going to join us and talk to us a little bit about what they do. Also give us a little bit of information about what they are seeing. They provide financial education specifically to Hispanic individuals and families to promote their financial well-being and improve their life standards. They go beyond financial education. They have so many amazing topics. For example, how to protect your legal information, how to know what your rights are if you are here in this country. There's so many, many good things that they do that we at Mastercard thought that it was going to be beneficial for you to hear about them if you haven't heard before, and hear from them, especially what they are seeing today, that they are so close to the Latino community, what they are hearing, what are the concerns that people have, what they have been doing to support us as Latinos during the pandemic and all those good things. So thank you so much for listening to me with this information, and I'm going to pass it on. I'll see you at the end again, but I'm going to pass it on to Miriam and then to Sandra to join us and say more things about Qualitas of Life Foundation. Okay? Thank you, and I'll see you in a minute. Miriam, back to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mercedes. And well, I'll just wait for the slide. Thank you, Mercedes. And it's so important. I was listening to your presentation, and it's things that we take for granted, that we assume that everybody knows, even us. And then when you see what happened, when you're not following the step that you do, you're always surprised of the fraud and scams that can happen if you're not really paying close attention to your finance. But anyways, thank you, Mercedes, for inviting us for this amazing charla. And thank you, Hispanic Heritage Foundation, for making this space possible. As Mercedes said, my name is Miriam Revlin. I'm the Executive Director of Qualitas of Life. And today, joining me in this conversation is my Director of Education, is Sandra Velez. And it's really an honor for Qualitas to be part of the charla and to share with you what we have done in the past 15 years of existence, what we have explored in our community, and what we have discovered, especially coming back from a pandemic of 2020. We are very excited to talk about the importance of providing financial education, but it's not just that we provide financial education in Spanish. It has that approach that is more into a cultural and that linguistic approach, that it will end up having a longer lasting impact in our community. And especially it's an honor to be presenting in this month that we're celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month, el mes de la hispanidad. Así que muchas gracias por invitarnos. You know, Qualitas has bringing financial education and giving inclusion and empowerment resources to Hispanic immigrants and communities in New York since 2007. You know, when the founders of Qualitas did studies and did the research and there were so many ideas of what to do, they, at the end of the day, they were convinced that the best way of having this impact and this empowerment in our community was to provide financial education. And not just, you know, with the idea of providing that education, also as Mercedes was just mentioning, to really realize the importance of understanding why it's so important to have a budget. Mercedes, you just were saying, you know, what we have and what we need and what we want is such a big, you know, that sometimes we forget, you know, if I'm making this much money, I cannot spend this twice as much. So helping them to understand and to really define those financial goals, at the end of the day, it has a tremendous impact in their life. And for that, the quality of the everyday life increases tremendously. You know, as we saw last year, our communities are historically, economically disadvantaged and have been particularly hard with COVID-19. That really resulted in an economic crisis for them. We, you know, our community from 9 today, as you remember, happened to all of us, but for them, for the industries where they work, 9 today, it was stop. Their life is stop. You know, they were the most highly impacted by the pandemic. Also, there were 3 times, according to Pew Research and to the urban studies that we always look for getting data from them. They were 3 times more likely to become infected and twice as likely to die from the pandemic compared to non-Hispanic whites. About 3 in 10 living in the US lost their job to COVID-19. And they estimated more or less about 192,000 immigrants, workers in New York City have lost their job due to the pandemic. And the majority, they were unable to get any type of insurance, any type of stimulus, a part of the stimulus payment that the government offered. I think you will see, and I will really go in detail about our community and the profile of our community. Most of them are undocumented or people that have just no access to a lot of these stimulus packages that were offered by the government. You know, you will see in the next graph that a lot of our employees were in the construction business, hospitality business, restaurant business, and that was the first thing that stopped. We all went through that as well. They, you know, they couldn't bring any revenue to their households, and some of them finished, you know, the little emergency savings they had accumulated. I think we have always been very, very close to the community. And I think we always say, you know, our Qualitas, you know, we're a small team, but the outreach that we have is, you know, we really get to the community. We work very close with the community. We bring the workshops to the community centers. And for that, we always aware of what is going on in their lives. So that was a big 2020, let me tell you, it was a big test for Qualitas. And we, you know, we have to come back with some resources and ideas and immediately turn and see what the community was needing. And we became, from one day to the next, the frontliners to our community to bring the information that they needed in Spanish. A lot of them, as I mentioned before, they were not able to get any of the stimulus packages that the government was offering. So we had to put them in, you know, matching with other organizations that were really supporting the profile of our community and sharing these resources with them. Feel free, anytime you can go to our website and you can see the list of resources that we created. We have to research, We have to speak with people that are the experts on the topic. We have to reach out to other foundations. And thank you to the partnership that we have with we have this great network of partners and Qualitas as Mastercard, that we have a good partnership with them. We were able to reach to families because there was at some point the families in New York were reaching out to Qualitas because Qualitas has this very good reputation. People know Qualitas, and there were families, Latino families, coming to me and say, Miriam, we can raise the resources, but we need to get to the community. How can you help us? And thanks to the network of partners that we have, we were able to reach out, and we were able to support and to help more than 3,000 families throughout the pandemic. So it was a big test, I can tell you that, for Qualitas, but that really showed the flexibility and how we're really listening to the needs of our community. We really go deep, analyze, research, bring the experts if we don't have the answer for them. And that's what we do. So this graph here is a summary, of who is this community that I'm saying that we work with. Well, this summarizes, we work with more than 80% of our community are women. I mentioned the different industries where our community work. And even now, we're still very active, trying to understand what is happening with them, what is happening in their daily life, what do they need. And as you see, about 25%, they're back to still unemployed. We have 25% that are full-time employee, but we also have still 20% more or less in the part-time. And something that that we're seeing a lot, and especially because of the percentage that we cover in the women gender, is about 20%. They have to stay home, and they have to be a full-time parent. Either they lost a partner, or their kids are not able to go back to school, or any other circumstances that have affected their family. Most of our participants is still, Mexico is still one of our highest, with more than 40%. But we also have many participants of Colombia, Ecuador, República Dominicana. We really cover a big scope of the Latino and of the Hispanic community. I think during COVID, we, since we were so active and people was reaching out to us, the visibility that Qualitas had was, really high. And for us, it benefited us because at the end of the day, the people realized how important it is. Why, okay, I need to have some savings. If anything similar to what we went through in 2020 happens again, you need to have a little bit of protection for your family. You need to save, to have that a little emergency savings. And now we see that the need, that they're really looking to understand more. How can I improve that I can better manage my finance, that it will have a benefit in my family. I don't want to live through that stress that I went through in 2020. So that has, for us, has been the demand for our workshops, especially now that everything is virtual, is been, it just jumped, and that's where we realize the need that our community has to learn more, the need that like they're hungry to learn more about how they can start a business. How can I start saving more money? How can I pay my taxes? How can I be a more responsible citizen in this country? And I think that's, for us, that's one of our goals, to create that level of community, to be able to support their needs, to be able to give them resources that it can benefit in the long run, and to have a big impact in the long run and benefit their families. But I will stop here, because I think Sandra, my director of education, will really review with you a lot of in more detail what we, after all this little research that I shared with you that happened during 2020 and 2021, she will put it together in a way that you can see the steps that Qualitas has followed to be there for our community. So Sandra.
Thank you, Miriam. Thank you, Miriam, and hi all. I'm waiting for the next slide. Okay, perfect. So before I begin my part of the presentation, I want all the participants to try to remember at what point in your life did you receive some financial education? At what moment did you start talking about money with your parents? And was it the moment when you received your first pay stub, or when you realized you had to do taxes, right? And the reason I ask is because I know we don't receive financial education at school. Sometimes it's very hard just to talk about money with your parents. It's something that we don't used to do. So financial education is essential. And here is what I want to share with you: the journey building financial capabilities. Manage or finance is another skill. And the way that Qualitas start is with financial education. Educate our community, understand the system. What is the banking system where we now live, right? Is understand the basic financial concepts. And I just name some because I know Mercedes also give very good tips, but I'm going to talk about those kind of topics, or those kind of concepts that we think we are familiar with them, like budgeting. Everyone can say, oh man, no, I know what is a budget, but who follows a budget? A monthly budget, or review or evaluate the budget and see what is the memberships of subscription that I don't use anymore, right? What is the banking system? What is the alternatives that I have as an immigrant, as a person, if I don't have social security number? What can I do with my HIN number? So banking system is all the financial institutions, the banks, the credit unions, the community banks. And what is another topic? The fraud and financial abuse. So all these topics that we cover in financial education allows our community to get better decisions, get financial decisions, but also understand what is the system, the financial system, and how they can take advantage, and exactly once understand the concepts. So for example, the credit Mercedes just said, credit is very important in the United States. It's something that you need to build. How you build your credit: savings and insurance, taxes, migratory process, and my money. Those are some topics that we cover in our program, because we understand and we really believe the financial education is an essential step, as a fundamental part of being fully integrated to the system as an immigrant. So once we understand the financial education is important in our lives, when we understand the basic financial concepts, so we start changing our financial habits. That's the second step, because now we understand, now we're going to put it in practice. So we're going to form good financial habits that are essential to achieve financial goals. Everyone has financial goals. Sometimes you want to buy a house, you want to save in for college, but what if you don't have those financial habits? If you don't have the discipline, or you don't follow different tools that are going to improve your financial set, you change your mindset. Because sometimes the reason I ask you when you talk about money with your parents is because if your parents doesn't teach you some financial habits, so you don't know how to start. So this information, once you have financial education, you start exactly forming different financial habits, redefine generational financial foundations. And this is very important because our parents are like our guidance in this path, but sometimes they don't have the information. That's very important that we're working with parents, with immigrants, and also with US-born Latino first generation, that they're now trying to understand what is the system. They really want to make better decisions, exactly because we want to have better economic opportunities. So once we have education, now we are forming financial habits. And the third step is economic opportunities. What is economic opportunities? When you put it in practice, all these kind of things, you have better credit, so it's easier for you to get a loan. Have a relationship with your banker makes a huge difference. Understand what is the local resources, the local institutions around me, know the area. This is the bridge between our community and also all the financial institutions and environment that is support our goals. Sometimes economic opportunities also for people who wants to start a business. They want to start a business, but they don't have a credit. So how is important this credit line just to get a loan, right? But also my son, my daughter, they want to go to college, but you didn't plan it. So what is the best alternative? And here is when you had to see what is the economic opportunities for you, for your family and your community. So all these 3 steps take us like information, fight with the misinformations. Now you have accurate information that you can spread with your community. And this is take us here where we say creating prosper communities. And what I mean by that is breaking the cycle from the poverty to financial well-being for all. That means that we start here with a personal budget. This is something personal, but once you have family, you start doing the budget for your family. Now that works for you, you have better economic opportunities. So now you have the information, but also you have the experience to share with your community that they should follow a budget. But also not it's just for this tool, because make a budget is a tool, but also it's about the opportunities with a credit or with saving and insurance, thinking about a short and long-term goals, financial goals. My retirement plan, all these kind of things make prosper communities. And Latino community are strong. We need to be united. And with information, we can do that. That's when we see breaking the cycle from poverty to financial well-being for all. That means also that we identify our community as a main resource. That's what I mean. Sometimes we can buy different things for big companies, but what if we know who is around? What is the business that have my neighbor or the services and products that offer my uncle, my cousin? This is the kind of things that we need to create. Is a network, and in that way, with good information and financial goals, and also with this connection in our own community, we are creating prosper communities. So this is the 4 steps that we see that is the journey building financial capabilities. We need to understand the concepts, put it in practice, open to economic opportunities, and create prosper communities. And sometimes, just in the next slide, I want to show you what happens when we don't have guidance in our family. So when we don't have this type of information, or we don't have a role model that can talk about money, for example, or you have mitos, taboos, right? So you don't talk about money, you don't even ask how much you earn, what is your income, these kind of things that is sometimes you just want to avoid, or your family do. So here is when Qualitas organization that works with developing informative material according to community needs. And this is an example to dinero tu futuro, your money, your future. Money, or el dinero is a base, something that you want to achieve tomorrow, in a year, 2 years, 5 years. You need to count with what money you're going to do those plans, right? So we have developed this material. Is a basic guide education, and we want to share with you, but also is trying to understand that sometimes we don't have the resources close to us in our family. When in the first instance, we need to reach out to these kind of materials, and are there for us to learn and have the accurate information and make better financial decisions. And in the other slide, I want you to show you, this is our community. And we are showing Veronica Leiva, one of the participants of the last workshop entrepreneurship course that we provided, because this is our community. We serve for more than 88% of women, and we see that is an immigrant woman from Mexico, is a mom, is a wife, is an entrepreneur, and is also a community leader. And once you have all these 4 steps and you're following the information that you have just to make sure you achieve your goals, that's what we're looking for our community. To get better decisions, not just in their own lives, personal lives, families, is a community in itself. So we want, for that reason, we want to share this beautiful picture that is a woman that represents that she takes time to educate herself, to learn about financial concepts. And now she wants to start her own business. And that's where every participant comes to Qualitas, to learn and see how the future just changed having this information. And that's all for now for Qualitas. And now I pass the floor to Mercedes. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sandra. That was awesome. That was great. We really, really appreciate it. And well, with time to go to questions. And thank you for the wonderful, kind notes in the chat. We appreciate you very much. And just wanted to say something. As Latinos, we are so hardworking. We are resilient. We are creative. We are, you know, we have the world in our hands. All of us that have come from other places where there are all kinds of problems and things, that here we are trying to be better every day. So there's no excuse for not doing what we need to do in terms of learning and preparing ourselves, being successful, being rich, being wealthy, having our businesses. There's no excuse, because there's resources, there's people to support you, and there's alternatives. So please take advantage of that. Remember that we're here to help you. And thank you so, so much for the opportunity to be here. And thank you to Hispanic Heritage Foundation for caring so much for you as to put this Charla and so many other things that they do to help. So I'll pass it on to Jessica for questions.
No, thank you, Qualities of Life Foundation, Mercedes, and Mastercard for this important information. We are now moving on to the Q&A session. So for those of you joining us, please make sure to submit your questions in the Q&A window found at the bottom of the Zoom bar for the opportunity to have your question answered live. So we do have a couple that we received. And the first question we have is, when should I start talking to my kids about finances? And when is it the time to start a savings account for my children?
Well, if I can take that one, I would say as early as possible. Believe it or not, I have been giving classes to 7-year-olds. And there's other organizations that are teaching even kindergarten kids the importance of savings and the importance of your money and planning. So I would recommend to start as early as possible, because as a family, you have the opportunity to share. Okay, we are a family, we have a budget, we have expenses. This is how you can help. Right? So it's not just like, okay, I'm going to give you this allowance and that's it. No, make sure that they understand the responsibility. They do something in exchange for the allowance, and that they are responsible. Like, okay, this is how I can help the budget of my home. Like, for example, not leaving the lights on all the time. I can be careful about that. I can help with chores and things. So as early as you start, I think it's the better, because then we grow up already knowing this thing. So it's less chance for big mistakes that then will affect our futures.
Gracias, Mercedes. And we have a question from Yadira, and it's actually the opposite as well. So as a younger generation student, what can we do to educate our parents about financial success?
Yeah, well, the other way around. Once you are talking to the kids within the family, those young people that have had the opportunity to educate themselves and are learning all these good things, do the same. Talk to them and you know, carefully put yourself in their shoes and understand that their experience was different, that they might be concerned about certain things, and just, you know, just be patient, be kind, and with facts, help them understand today's world and what are the consequences of not doing what you need to do in terms of your finances.
Gracias. And I know you all touched upon a lot about creating a budget and staying on track. And we do receive the question in terms of how often should I be doing a budget?
Well, I think you should be checking your budget all the time. Right? Like every month, for example, just check how much came in, how much went out, And if you had the opportunity to save something, which has to be accounted for, even if it's an expense. These are my monthly expenses, and this is the bucket for my savings, even if it's $5, $10, whatever it is. And then how much you have remaining. And then what are you going to do with it? Are you going to buy something? Are you going to save it? Are you going to help somebody? So I think every month at least, I would think it's important to monitor what you're doing and ensure that you're in the right track.
Thank you, Mercedes. And we also have a question. What percentage of my income should I be saving?
Well, it all depends what your expenses are. At least 10%, I would think. But if you can save more, it's not going to be a bad thing. On the contrary, that means that you're going to have more money. There's always a recommendation that you have at least 6 months of your monthly expenses saved. That's what I said, like a cushion, right? Como un colchón. So just see what your expenses are every month and save 6 times that as soon as you can, and then forget about it. Just put it in an account. Ideally, that gives you a little bit of interest, but just don't think that you even have it. And continue forward. That will give you peace of mind when something happens.
Absolutely. And we do have a question from Patricia saying, pay yourself first. How do we teach this concept?
Well, pay yourself first. That's exactly what I said. It's like paying yourself or putting a savings amount as part of your expenses. Like, okay, I have this money. I need to pay the rent. I need to pay the electricity. I need to pay the phone, the school, the transportation, whatever it is. And the money for Mercedes or money for emergency or the jar for the savings. And then once you took care of all of that, say, okay, how much I have remaining. Ideally, there's something remaining, and be smart about what to do with it. That is what means paying yourself first. It's like if you're one of the expenses as well. Saving money, it's one of the must-do things.
And the next question we have is, do you have any advice or suggestions for small business owners?
Ooh, absolutely. I do. I do, and probably, Miriam and Sandra have some too. The advice I would give them is from a electronic technology perspective. What I mentioned at the beginning of my conversation, which was the merchants that just say, oh no, I'm just going to be a cash only merchant. That's a big mistake. Even la señora de los churros en el metro in Nueva York, she now has a Square device and she takes credit cards, for example. So it doesn't matter how big or how small your business is. If you do not accept payment cards or sell online, which you need to accept payment cards to do that, you are going to be so limited to people coming to you in person with enough cash in their pockets. So using technology opens your sales channels. That means you can sell in person, you can sell over the phone, you can sell via online. I can be on a plane that has Wi-Fi and I can be buying things from you. So just imagine the limitation that you have with the customers that are going to go somewhere else, because who's carrying cash in their pocket from a safety or convenience perspective? So as a small business, think about that when you have your plan. And I would think maybe Sandra has a couple of other recommendations for a small business.
Yes, for entrepreneurs, once they want to start a business, something that we really highly recommend is every path is different. Every path is different, and you need to prepare yourself. Have all the tools before you start while you are in the first step. In every step, you need to have the information, and it's very important to have clear what is the license, the permits, and to operate free in the city that you are.
Thank you, everyone. And so that's all the time we have for today's charla. Thank you once again to Mercedes and Mastercard for co-hosting today's charla, Qualitas of Life Foundation for joining us and sharing critical information to our community. And thank you all for joining us today. We will have a recording of today's charla available and we'll share it via email. We look forward to seeing you at our next charla. Have a great day.